Welcome to the mom room where we are wearing Shawn Mendes hoodies every single day. And it's not that I have multiple Shawn Mendes hoodies. No, no, no. I have one that I bought when I went to go see him in Brooklyn, and I've been wearing it for 6 days now. I don't know what it is. Every time I wake up, I'm just like, that's what I want to wear. And it's not like I have any appointments or engagements where I need to dress nice. Not to say that this hoodie isn't nice, it's freaking gorgeous, but I'm able to wear a hoodie, the same hoodie, every single day for 6 days. And I don't know how many days I'm going to make it to, but we'll see. Maybe if I get like a big stain on it and I actually have to wash it, I don't know. We'll see. So welcome to the mom room. It is Thursday. It is a traditional solo. It's just me. And last week's was a revisit. I was giving some mom advice. And the reason it was a revisit is because I was in Mexico and I have a Mexico vlog that should be coming. But the resort that we were staying at, people were asking, where is this? It is called Moon Palace the Grand. The thing that I love about it is that, oh my God, I don't have my professional light on. I just noticed. So I'm going to look really weird if we cut some reels from this. Anyways, this is the kind of day that it is. Don't even get me started on how my car broke down at 8 a.m. on the way to the dealership this morning. I will get into that story as well. But no, the Moon Palace, the Grand, it's in Cancun, and it's only 10 minutes from the airport, which that was a selling point for me because there's nothing I hate more than flying all the way somewhere and then having like an hour-long drive. And I'm a very anxious passenger. So I loved that it was just 10 minutes from the airport. It was beautiful. It's a really nice family resort. I will say if you love the ocean part of vacations, then maybe that's not the resort for you because I don't think there were that many people in the ocean. It looked a little bit wavy and a little bit muddy. I don't know. You can look at reviews of the resort and see what people say about the ocean. We stayed at the pool most days. We did the water park. The reason we chose this one, or I chose it, was because it looked really well set up for families, and we wanted this trip to be for Milo. We were going with my husband's parents and Milo. There was an arcade, which he absolutely loved. I was like, I can't believe I'm in a tropical location with gorgeous weather, and I'm in this dark arcade with like neon lights everywhere. But he loved it. And so I loved that he loved it. And we played air hockey and it was really fun. Really fun restaurant there called Circus. You will see it in the vlog. I took a lot of video footage there. It is so cute. I loved it. And I'm so sad. We did it the first night that we went there and we were all absolutely exhausted. So I don't know if I got to enjoy it as much as I would have if I had more energy. But I did have a few mango margaritas, and honestly, if you're going to Mexico, you need mango margaritas. They are so good. You can get the slushy kind, or you can get just on the rocks. They are equally delicious. Obsessed. And I got my father-in-law hooked on mango margaritas. And like, that's just what we're talking about all the time now. My husband and I are going for dinner on Friday in Guelph. And I was like, I kind of want to go to the Mexican restaurant so I can have a mango margarita. But that's crazy, like we were just in Mexico. And I don't really feel like Mexican food. I just really want a delicious mango margarita. So anyways, the Circus restaurant, amazing. The water park for kids, amazing. They also had a lazy river, which I'm a huge fan of lazy rivers with my child. It's so fun to just kind of like float around this big river. The water park on one side, I guess, is for older kids. It has really big water slides, and I was hyping Milo up to go, and he got there and he wasn't tall enough and he was so upset. But luckily, they have a whole other section with some pretty big slides as well for younger kids. So we were like trying to distract him and get him out of this funk. He was so upset that he couldn't go on the big ones. So anyways, it's nice that they have some for older kids and they have some for younger kids as well. The food was amazing. It is a five-star resort, and if you remember when we went to the Dominican, we stayed at a five-star, but the rating systems, like when you go from country to country, it's just not the same. And the food is so important to me when I go somewhere. I I can't say that I would ever go back to the Dominican. I'm sorry. It's just the food is just not it. And Mexico's food has never really disappointed when we go to a really high rated resort. This resort is huge. I thought that was going to be an issue, but they have little bus stops. They're kind of golf cart stops, not buses. And they're driving around the resort all the time. And so you can just like hop on a golf cart, hop off where you need to hop off. So it was really easy to get around. And honestly, it is huge, but it's still walkable. I mean, the weather is super nice. There's like lizards crawling around. Like, it's not bad to be walking from place to place either. Uh, I will say we were in building, if you look at a map of the resort, we were in a building that was next to the main lobby. And I do think that was to our advantage because if you wanted to go to the big buffet, it was in the main lobby. If you wanted to go to most of the main restaurants where you would make reservations were in the main lobby. So it was just like a quick little walk for us. Also the arcade was in the main lobby, the karaoke bar, the lobby bars, the cafe, like there was a lot, the theater for the shows at night, everything was towards the main lobby and we were right there. I do think if we were in a building that was closer to the ocean on the other side of the resort, it would have been kind of a pain in the ass. So I don't know if you're planning, there were a few people that messaged me saying that they were planning on going to this resort and they wanted more information about it. So that's what I would say. Like you want to be in a building that's closer to the main lobby. Now, my complaints, what I will say, and Milo is 6, so I didn't think of this right away, but if you look at the vlog, if it ever goes up, I have to edit it. You'll notice the rooms are not kid friendly at all. And by kid, I mean younger kids, Milo's age, totally fine. Like if they're steady on their feet and they're walking, it's totally fine. But if you have a kid that crawls around and is in that stage of life, it would be a nightmare because the rooms, because we stayed in a family suite, so there was 2 connecting rooms. The floor just, it's like a 2-level room. There's like a lower level with a table. There's a tub like in the middle of the floor, like a big jacuzzi near the balcony. And then there's stairs and the floor where the bed is and whatnot. And I just think it would be a nightmare if you have young kids that are crawling around or just learning to walk and they're hobbling. Like that is so dangerous because it's like marble. It's rock hard floors, sharp corners, stairs going down to another level with no railings or nothing. So it's kind of wild to me that it's like a family suite and it is so not young kid friendly. That is one thing that I will say. So take note of that. Also, my complaints, again, it's the same major company as LeBlanc, which is where my husband and I went in March. Oh my God, no, June. Oh my God. The bath products, like I could not hate them more if I tried. They are so perfumey. So it's like my husband, if he puts on the cream from the resort, it's like he smells like he just took a bath in cologne, like really strong cologne. I like have zero tolerance for fragrance like that. I can't stand it. So that is my one complaint. Even when we walked into the lobby, I was like, holy shit, like am I in the perfume aisle of like a Sears? Does Sears exist anymore? No, it doesn't. But you know what I mean? Like so perfumey. The last night that we were there, I had to cover my pillow. When they came in to turn down the room, they must have sprayed our pillows with something like a perfume. I was giving my husband shit because I thought he got out of the shower and used the cream. And I was like, why would you do that? Like, you know, I'm so sensitive to fragrance. And I was like giving him shit. And he's like, I don't know. And then I went up close and I smelled his face. And I was like, oh my God, it's not you. And then I smelled my pillow and I was like, holy shit, they must have sprayed the pillows with something when they came to turn down the room. I had to cover my pillow with one of my dresses so that I could breathe to go to sleep. So like cool it on the fragrance, okay? Cool your jets. So that was annoying, which is like a me problem. Some people probably love it. Also, I don't think the air conditioning was working in the buffet or like that side of the main lobby building, which that's also where the arcade was. And Milo was obsessed with the arcade, and we would go in there and literally sweat our asses off. There was one dinner that we went to in the buffet because it was just like a quick, like, let's just go have dinner at the buffet. I thought I was dying of heat. I was like, I'm going to die. And I got up from the table and I had to have Pri look at my ass to see if I sweat through my pants. Like I was sweating. I had to go to the bathroom in the lobby part of the building to cool down to go back. And like, that's annoying because if you're so hot, like I can't enjoy my meal or what I'm eating. I'm just worried about sweating through my pants. So that was irritating. I can't imagine it's like that all the time. I feel like the AC on that side of the building must have been broken because it was unbelievable. The karaoke bar was like the best thing in the world. And I was so sad because on Monday night is when my husband and I planned on going to the adult karaoke. And I was ready to sing Taylor Swift. Like I was so ready. I had picked out my song, like all the things. I was practicing, learning the lyrics, and I really wanted to perform. But the karaoke bar was closed on Mondays, and then we didn't get a chance to go Tuesday, and then we left Thursday, like Wednesday. So anyways, we ended up going to the karaoke bar on Sunday night, and between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. was kids karaoke. It's like family karaoke. So little kids got up and like they were singing Taylor Swift, and one little girl sang Chapel Roan. Good luck, babe. Good luck, babe. It was the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. There is some video footage of it in the vlog, if I ever get that up. I loved it so much. So many parents went up and sang with their kids. Milo didn't want to go up, but he was pressuring me to go up, and I couldn't pick a song. And here's the thing. I was fully prepared to go and sing karaoke because it was family night, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be so fun. But we got in there and it was literally little kids going up on stage and singing, and all the parents like around the stage like cheering them on. And I wanted to go and give the performance of a lifetime and take it really seriously and sing Taylor Swift. And I was like, I'm not going to do that when it's a bunch of parents cheering on their little kids singing like Taylor Swift and, you know, all these like young songs. So I didn't end up going up, and Milo kept being like, Mom, pick a song, you got to go up. I'm like, are you going to come up with me? Like, this is embarrassing. I can't go up there and give it my all when it's literally all kids singing. So anyways, just the fact that they have a full-fledged karaoke bar, that's all it is. I was so excited. Like, if there's one thing I love at a resort, it's a karaoke bar. It's karaoke. It's seeing people go up and sing karaoke. But I was so excited to go to the adult karaoke. Like, grandparents were going to take Milo back to the room, put him to bed, and my husband and I could have stayed at the adult karaoke, had mango margaritas, and sang, but it was closed, and I was devastated. So anyways, that is that on that. While I was on this vacation, and this is probably also a me problem, I started to think like how it's not actually relaxing. I had such a busy few weeks before we went to Mexico, and in my mind, I was like, oh my God, I'm literally doing nothing. I'm just going to relax. And then I got there and I was like, holy shit, this is really busy and not relaxing at all. I'm exhausted by like 8 p.m. I just want to like lay down and read my book. But when you're at a resort with a child and you're trying to cater to them and make them have this like glorious vacation, it's not exactly relaxing for the parents. So I don't know, that while I was on this vacation, I was like, you know what I want to do? I want to rent an Airbnb, just like a beautiful Airbnb that looks like it's on HGTV, that has a pool in the backyard. And I just want to stock it with all my favorite snacks, favorite foods, like cheese boards, some wines, some beers, like all the things that I absolutely love. And I want it to be close to restaurants where you can Uber Eats meals as well. And I want it to have Netflix on the TV, like a really cozy TV watching spot, pool in the backyard. If there's like a sauna and a hot tub, that's a bonus. And I just want to stay at this Airbnb and make cheese boards. And when I get up in the morning, I want to be able to have a delicious coffee and sit outside while Milo's sleeping in. That's what I want. And like the hotel life, which is like a resort, it's like a hotel with a child, is not relaxing. I want us to have our own bedrooms, and I want to be able to get up and have a delicious coffee. That's like number one on my list. And when you're in a hotel, they did have a espresso machine in the room, and we made it. And I was like, this is the grossest thing I've ever tasted in my life. It was so strong. I was like choking it down. It's like, this is not ideal for me. So my next vacation that I take with Milo and my husband, I'm getting an Airbnb that has a pool in the backyard. You can Uber Eats meals, and I'm going to stock it. You know those companies that will fill your Airbnb or your hotel or whatever with groceries before you arrive? I'm going to pick out all my most favorite things. I'll let my husband pick some things too. And that's what I want to do for my vacation. Airbnb vacation. So my husband was making fun of me because that's what I kept talking about. But anyways, that's just me. Moving on to the pop culture segment of the show, I got a DM from someone and they were like, when are you going to talk about this Chimp Crazy documentary? If you guys can hear my dogs barking, it's because my husband's leaving for work. Oh yeah, I didn't get into the car towing situation. Okay, I need a daily podcast because I have too many things to talk about. Anyways, pop culture, Chimp Crazy. There's two things that I watched recently that I wanted to touch on. Chimp Crazy is a 4-episode documentary that you can find on, where is it? Prime? It's on HBO. So if you have HBO or you have a platform that shows HBO, I'm pretty sure it's Prime in Canada. Is it Amazon Prime or is it Crave? No, maybe it's Crave in Canada. Anyways, just look up Chimp Crazy. It is from the same guy that made Tiger King. Do you guys remember that documentary? Like, blow your mind. And basically it's about, he must be very into like the exotic animal, like illegal owning of animals kind of thing, or like keeping exotic animals in non-exotic places. I don't know. I just made that up. But basically, this is a documentary about a woman who started this, not a, what would you call it? It's not a sanctuary. She basically was housing and keeping chimpanzees. And a lot of the chimpanzees, or a few of them, I think, had Hollywood type jobs. So, you know, if you see like a chimpanzee in a movie, there was one chimp there, Tonka, that was very famous. He was in a bunch of movies. So she started this place. Her name was Connie. And she started to, like, the place was not being upkept. Like, she was having problems with it. She was just kind of like letting it go. And so this other woman volunteered there and ended up like fully taking over and revamping the whole thing. And anyways, so that all happens in the first episode. Like, you get introduced to these two women, like hear about their stories a little bit. And then it just takes a turn, guys. Like, this woman, the way they build relationships with these chimpanzees. And it's funny because as I was watching it, I was like, it's not that different from the way that I view and treat my dogs, but it's more so in like, they call them their kids, which I get it. Like, I call my dogs my babies, but it was just bizarre the way they really have these emotional connections with these chimpanzees. And so basically, the next 3 episodes, like what the documentary is about, is following this woman who PETA was trying to take down and remove the chimpanzees from her care and bring them to a sanctuary in Florida. So you're hearing from like this woman, obviously, because she's like the main part of the documentary. They're following her around, but you're also hearing from the lawyer that's working on PETA's behalf. You're hearing from Alan Cummings, who is an actor that was working with Tonka, the famous chimp that was a part of this documentary. And But it takes a turn because PETA ends up winning the court case and the chimpanzees are set to be taken out of her care and brought to this sanctuary in Florida. But I don't know if this is like spoiling it. I don't think it is. You still have to watch. Like, it's so good. Before so they go to take the chimpanzees from her care, and like it's being monitored by like state troopers, and like there's all these media cameras and whatnot. But the famous chimp, the one that she was obsessed with, Tonka, is missing. And she claims that he passed away. So the rest of the documentary is like trying to figure out where this chimp went. They're asking for proof that he is deceased, and she ends up moving to Missouri. And then the guy that's making the documentary kind of gets involved because he knows what's going on because they're doing a documentary on this woman. And so he's in this like hard place of being like, what the hell do we do? Like, we're aware of what's going on. And so anyway, it is wild. And the part that was really interesting to me was as they're telling her story and following this story, they also bring in previous stories from the media where a chimpanzee like was either killed in the care of someone, like these people that basically raise chimpanzees almost like as if they're humans. So they're following other stories as well and going back and telling stories of things that happened. And one of the stories that they talk about is, do you guys remember a long time ago when, and I specifically remember this woman being on Oprah, the chimpanzee like hurt her so bad that they say like the chimpanzee ripped off her face. Do you guys remember this? I think it was in the 90s. They tell that story and they play the police phone call from that event and like other events similar to that had happened. And I'm just like, my God, how is this not a law? Because there's certain states where, I think Missouri is one of them, where there's no laws about having animals and like how they have to be maintained or like kept, And my mind is blown. Like when you hear these stories about how chimpanzees, and then something happens to the woman and she's like, honestly, if I had the chance to have a chimp again, I would. One of the stories, oh my God, guys, it's so crazy. So the lady whose chimp it was that ripped someone's face off, after a year, went and bought another chimp. And like, when that happened to her friend came over, she was going to take the chimp out somewhere. It's almost like the chimps are fine until they reach a certain age and then they just go fucking crazy. And I don't know if it's because they get pissed off that they're not like living a regular life, or what I think happens is that they get so big and almost uncontrollable at that point that the human starts treating them differently. Like I know this one that like snapped, like she couldn't control him anymore and he was so big and obviously like he's a fucking wild animal, and so she would keep him in his room for longer periods of time. And then eventually like you let him out and he loses his goddamn mind because like how you're treating him and how he's living is not right. And so even watching, it's really confusing because you will feel all of the emotions watching this video because you feel for the woman who is losing this animal that she is so attached to. But then she's so convinced that the monkey or the chimpanzee is so happy living with her in her basement, like without sunlight. Like he's literally living in the basement in this like cage. How do you think that is good for him? But she's so convinced that like this is him living his best life because they have such a strong bond. And you feel all the emotions watching this documentary. And so I don't know how, if you are a chimpanzee lover, like I don't take my dogs for a walk one day and I feel guilty, like they're not living their best life. Like, how do you think this wild animal, this chimpanzee, is living his best life in your basement, in a cage, like with no friends? It's just, I don't know. It's crazy. You guys have to watch it. And some of the questions, I had wrote down some of the questions that I had. So number one, if you saw the documentary, these are the questions that I was left with. Where's her daughter? They mentioned, like, they talked to her son. He was a part of the documentary, but they mentioned that she had a daughter that she adopted years ago. Like, where is she? My question is also, like, are there any men in history that have become so obsessed with chimpanzees and built this relationship, like emotional dependency relationship with chimpanzees? Or is this just a woman's thing? Because the fact that they're treating them like children and they speak about them like they're their children is really interesting to me, that every single story that was touched on in this documentary was a woman. And they did mention a man that has chimpanzees in his care, but it wasn't the same kind of thing. Like, he just had like a chimp, not a zoo, but like a place where he kept chimps. It wasn't depicted in the way that the women's stories were, where it was like they were dressing them up in clothes and like sleeping with them, and not like sleeping with them, you know what I mean? Like, you know, but treating them like a family member as opposed to a pet or an animal, if that makes sense. So have there ever been any men that have become chimp crazy? Or is it just like a woman's thing? That was interesting. Oh, and then when you see the sanctuary where they were taking the chimps, it's so much better. Like, I literally looked up the sanctuary and you can see videos of the chimpanzees. It's set up like there's a bunch of different islands, and each island has like a whole bunch of chimpanzees, and they have like all the resources, like jungle gyms. Like, it was just really, really lovely to see the sanctuary where they go. Yeah, so those were my questions. Those are my big overlying questions when it comes to Chimp Crazy. Let's see. What else do I have to talk about? Maybe I'll record. Okay, so that is my review of Chimp Crazy. Something else that I watched on the plane on the way back from Mexico was Martha. I loved this Martha documentary. What a badass. I am obsessed with her. The one quote that I will never forget from her documentary was when she was talking about career versus marriage, because obviously her marriage, I don't know if you want to call it failed, but her husband had a bunch of affairs. She, it sounded like, had an affair as well, and obviously it was not happily ever after. Even though she portrayed this person that was such a homemaker and kind of maintaining the perfect home, that was not the case in her real life. It was very interesting. Her whole career and business was about homemaking and having a perfect home, and like being that quote unquote like perfect mom slash wife, hosting and entertaining, but she didn't actually have that. Like, once she got to a certain level, well, even when she started, it was about catering parties. You know, her business was a catering business. And so that's where all her work was done. It's not like they called her the original influencer, which I loved, but it's not like she was doing these things at home necessarily. She would have some parties, and then showing it online. It's like a lot of her work was catering for other people, like big high profile parties and whatnot. But when she was talking about, like the people's goals in life, or like what's most important in life, and she was like, is it building an amazing career, or is it having a happy marriage? And she was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know the answer to that. Who's to say that my life would have been any better being happily married and not having the career that I had and all the opportunities and building this insane business? Like, who's to say what is right? And it kind of made me think about how, you know, we're all trying to live this like ideal, perfect life. But what does that mean? Like, what's important to one person is not necessarily important to another. And it was just interesting that she had that viewpoint, like, what's more important, building this career that I built, or if I had a marriage that lasted and like a family life? Because she did also talk, okay, no, the most relatable thing about the Martha Stewart documentary was when she, and this was so brief, but oh my God, it stuck into my brain. When she talked about how nap time when her daughter was really young was the time where she felt like herself, like she could get things done, and she really enjoyed that time. So relatable. Because nobody talks about the early days of motherhood when, if you're a busybody and you're used to doing things and being productive, you can't be productive and creative and getting things done when you're taking care of your child at a certain age. But when it's nap time, now it's like you're back to where you were before you had a kid, and you can get things done. You can work on something. You can put your focus and your attention and your energy into something. Maybe it's like schoolwork, maybe it's career, maybe it's a hobby. But that was really interesting to me. And I can relate to that feeling where the early days for me were really difficult because I am a busybody, and I was in grad school for like 10 years before I had Milo. And so I was always focused on something to do with school. And then once I had Milo, school wasn't in the picture anymore. And I was just watching my child. I love him, but you know what I'm saying? It was just like a complete flip into what I was used to doing. But then when it was nap time, when he would go to bed in the evenings, it was like, oh, like I can focus on something else, like use my brain for something other than like making a snack or, washing the bottles or doing something like that. If like, I don't know, it's really hard to explain, but I tried my best. Anyways, that really stood out to me when she was talking about just becoming a mom and wanting to focus on career and how difficult that was. So, anywho, I did have some parenting things that I wanted to get into, but perhaps I will do that for next week, or maybe I'll even do it in the introduction. No, I'm not going to do it on the introduction. You know what? Maybe I'll just make them into reels or TikToks or posts on the account. So look out for those, okay? There's some topics that I wanted to talk about. The book that I'm reading right now, The Hunting Wives, so good. Highly recommend. I'm very excited to go to bed each night so I can read that before I fall asleep. So yeah, if you're looking for a book to read, highly recommend. So that's that on that, guys. Exciting things coming up. My friend's mom ended up getting a code for Taylor Swift in Toronto because they released some tickets not too long ago. And she bought me a single ticket. She had one left that she could get. And she was like, do you want me to just get you like a single ticket to one of the shows? I was like, oh my God, yes. I am in my era of going to concerts by myself. I went to Hanson, Shawn Mendes in Brooklyn. And now I'm going to go see Taylor by myself. And that's okay. But yeah, so that is on November 23rd. That's her last show in Toronto before she heads to Vancouver. You know what's so funny? My husband's dad works at the stadium. It's like his part-time hobby job that he has. Uh, the stadium in Vancouver. So he's literally going to be at every single Taylor Swift concert in Vancouver. Isn't that crazy? I was like, oh my God, buckle up, buckle up. Like, I hope you got some good running shoes because it's 3.5 hours long. Anywho, so many things to say. I should just like throw out another solo this week or something. Maybe I'll go live on Instagram. I don't know, like too many things. Do I do like a daily podcast or do I do like a daily live? Or I don't know, Renee, this is what happens. Like I overextend myself. I need to just focus on my current things that I have to do and do them well and feel good about doing well. Okay? Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe, all the things, and follow us on Instagram at The Mom Room. Tuesday's episode is with Aurora Culpo. I'm very excited for you guys to hear that one. She was such a good podcast guest. I love when people come on and just like talk. They're so easy to talk to. Like you're not trying to fill time. Like they're just professional talkers. And I love that. I think I'm a professional talker. The tow truck guy that drove me to Audie this morning would agree. So talked his freaking ear off. So anyways, thanks for listening, guys. See you next week. Bye.